I am going to be doing a little tier list of some of my, not some of, pretty much every character action, stylish action, whatever you called, all the ones that I've beaten throughout the years. There's not a ton of them. I think it's 17 on here, and there's actually a few that I've excluded, like Near Automata. I excluded that because that's a little bit more than just an action game. That's a bit more of an RPG. It's an action RPG. I feel like most of the games on this list lean more into just action, with maybe the exception to Darksiders, but Darksiders is very loosely RPG-ish. It's still mostly an action game. And then I guess you could kind of say the same thing about Astral Chain, but I feel like with I just don't feel like putting actually maybe I should remove Astral Chain now that I think about it. We'll leave it. I mean, if I were to put Nier Automata on here, just so you know, it'd probably go in S tier. So just let that be known. But I didn't add it on here. I just felt like the reason I love that game is a little bit different than the reasons why I like most of these. So it felt a little off. So I'm actually gonna go backwards. I don't wanna start off with Devil May Cry. I wanna end with Devil May Cry. So we're gonna start off with Astral Chain. What do I think of Astral Chain? More like ass chain, am I right? No, this game is pretty good. It's not amazing in my opinion, but I like it. It's got a decent plot from what I remember. I beat this game a couple years ago. Actually, I think I beat this game when it came out. And basically, you get to choose to be one of two twins. Whichever twin you choose is the silent protagonist, and then the other twin talks throughout the gameplay. I know your daddy dies, but really, I'm just here to talk about. I mean, the overall game too, but really the combat, and the combat in this game was really fun. The amount of different little bionicles that you could use, I guess you could call them bionicles. I can't actually, I think they're called astrals, and you have them on a chain, and it's a pretty fun game. I like it. I think B tier is a good middle point for it. I think it's a good game. I don't think it's bad. Also, I don't know if you noticed, I got the DMC rankings on here. I could go higher up and do like smoking sexy style, but I think just five was good. So, all right, badass. It's a great game. It's a good game. I recommend it. It's got a cool aesthetic to it. It is Switch only, so just keep that in mind. Unless it's been brought to PC without my knowledge, but I believe it's still only Switch. Darksiders. Now, I don't have Darksiders 2 on here. I've never beaten 2. I'm actually playing through it right now because I lost my save data on it a long time ago. And I actually think Darksiders 2 is better, but I just haven't beaten it, so that's why it's not on here. But Darksiders 1, really great game. It's got a cool story, cool premise, getting to play as War, of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. He's really cool. I think he's actually if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the voice actor for Gaara from Naruto. I believe so. Doesn't really matter. It has nothing to do with gameplay. But yeah, he's a big ass motherfucker with a sword slashing people. There's a dodge. You get other weapons and stuff like that. Different abilities. You get that cool ability where you become giant. Like you bigger and you start fucking shit up. So it's a fun game. Where would I put it though? Would I put it in C tier or B tier? That's hard. I think C tier. I know that's gonna make some people mad, but I don't love Darksiders. I like Darksiders. I just don't love Darksiders. See, it's still crazy, so you don't forget about it. It's crazy. It's good. Ooh, it's a great game. I like Darksiders. And it's got a cool world. I will say there's a point near the end of the game where you have to like fetch a bunch of stuff, and I thought that was really annoying. I think that was probably my biggest negative about the game. But overall, it's a fun game. Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Now, this is a game that This is gonna be a little bit of a controversial list. This is actually one of my favorite games on this list. I love Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I think it has a great story. I really like its combat, and I know some people are gonna be like, "What do you mean? What do you mean you love this game? You never even played God of War?" And it's like, I don't know, man. I've tried to play God of War, and I don't like it very much. I like the way it feels. Um, but I like the way Castlevania Lords of Shadow feels. I love the way this game feels. You know, it's not a perfect game by any means. I will say those Shadow of the Colossus type fights are very gimmicky. You know, they have they have nowhere as much depth as the Shadow of the Colossus fights, but they're a cool spectacle, and I enjoy them. And I love the combat. I love the light versus the dark mechanic. You know, power or like the dark gives you more power, but the light heals you when you use it. I think it's really cool. It's a cool mechanic. Adds some decision making. I really like this game. Um, I'm not going to go too in depth about it because I got a whole list of games, and I love the music in this game. This has some of my favorite music. I wouldn't say best music, but it has some of my favorite music of all these games. I wouldn't say it has the overall best because there are some really good soundtracks in some of these games, but I love the music in this. I'm gonna put it in apocalyptic. Fantastic game. I love it. All right, now the Bayonettas. Where am I gonna put Bayonetta? Bayonetta games are really good. Both of them are. So it's kind of hard thing to do. I think I definitely like two more for a few reasons. I think my main gripe with one is actually the final boss. I just felt like it went on for way too fucking long. But it was still a fun game. So I'd probably put Bayonetta 2 in B tier. I don't think I'd put it above Astral Chain and Bayonetta 2. I think I'm also going to put it in B tier, but I'm going to put it above Bayonetta 1. And I know this is a hot take. I got Castlevania up here, but I just love Castlevania. I'm a bit of a Castlevania fan in general, but I do especially love Lords of Shadow. It's not my favorite Castlevania game. I know I need to kind of stop writing his dick. I have Rondo of Blood is my favorite Castlevania game. Just a little spoiler alert there. I love that game. And then probably Symphony of the Night right behind it. And then it would be this. But yeah, okay, let's move on. Bayonetta games are both really good. She got that booty though, you could kind of see them from here, even that tiny, they still plumping. Gameplay is great. It's similar at ish to the Devil May Cry games. Obviously, they're different in their own ways, but they have similar elements to them. Love these games. They're great. You know what? Nah, let's put Bayonetta 2 up here. We'll keep Bayonetta 1 down here, but we'll put 2 up here. But we'll keep it below Castlevania. Deadpool the game. This is kind of a hard one to rank because it doesn't have the most complex gameplay, but this game is so fucking funny and it switches up so much throughout the game that it keeps it fresh. Like there's that part where it does the stupid little thought bubbles and then you jump across and just so many stupid little things like that throughout the game that keep it entertaining through and through. And then the gameplay is also really fun. It's bloody. Deadpool's so entertaining. I love this game. I'd have to put it in B tier. I'd put it above Darksiders. It's a great game. I'd recommend anybody if you can get your hands on it. I know it's a rare game now. I've just found that out recently. I own the game, so that's kind of a shame for anybody who can't play it. But great game. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Metal Gear Rising. Where do I rank you, big boy? This is a great game, by the way. I've probably beaten this game 3 or 4 times, maybe five. Last time I beat it was like 2 years ago. Um, really fantastic game. This probably has the best soundtrack on this list. That's kind of why I went back on the Castlevania thing. I was like, Metal Gear Rising. It's kind of got that music though, like almost all of it. Hmm. Oh God, where should I put it? I don't know if I want to put it quite in A tier. Part of me kind of wants to put it right here. Because I do have like little gripes with it, like aerial enemies are fucking annoying because the combat doesn't feel like it's really made to deal with enemies in the air. Um, but God, that the fucking story is so entertaining. Fuck it, we'll put it right here. It'll go right behind Bayonetta 2. That's where it'll go. Fantastic game. This game just makes you feel like a badass. Now, Ninja Gaiden Sigma. This is where I never played Ninja Gaiden Black. I know that's the one people really love. So maybe I won't get too much flack on this, but Ninja Gaiden Sigma C tier. I like this game, but I think this game is like it was kind of annoying to play. I got lost a lot in it, and the combat's fun, but I didn't feel like it was that fun. I don't know. The combat's really fun in this game, but I feel like there's a lot of enemies that I just didn't enjoy fighting all that much. And then um I didn't really like any of the boss fights. I didn't like the final boss and voice cracked. The final boss in this game, they actually fucked up this version of the game from what I understand, where you could cheese the boss super easily. And I figured that out like on my second or third attempt on him, and I just killed him. It was super easy. Um, so that was a shame. And the fact that even to get to the boss, it makes you redo that fucking platforming part every goddamn time. It was so annoying. There's a lot of things about this game that annoy me. Still a good game. Maybe Black is better. I don't know. I'd have to play it. But Sigma, it has a lot of things about it I don't like. There's a lot of enemies and most of the bosses, probably all the bosses, honestly, I didn't really care for. So yeah, that's my placement. I don't know. Deal with it, I guess. Yeah, Shinobi. Ooh, where am I gonna put Shinobi? Shinobi's got to be like right behind Castlevania. I love Shinobi. This is one of my favorite action games ever. Um, I've played it a couple times on the channel. I didn't really continue it because I realized that I remembered that the final boss is a bastard. The final boss. See, this is an amazing game that is only held back by a terrible final boss. The final boss in this game is garbage. He is so terribly designed. I'm not going to go into like detail about it right now, but it is actually a shitty boss. He's a terribly designed boss. He's just actually unfair. It's fucking horseshit. That is the one like true gripe on this game. Like really I could like complain about like little things like the camera could be better, maybe the game could be a little bit longer, stuff like that. But like the final boss, that's the only true complaint I have on this game. It is a terrible final boss, which is a shame because I don't think any of the bosses coming up to it is are that bad. Like they're decent, I would say. They're not bad final boss, not final boss. They're not bad bosses. It's just that final motherfucker is terrible. It's so tedious. It makes you start off with like some stupid 3 minute segment of like hitting him when he's not even that hard to fight anyway, and that's tedious to redo every time. And then it just plays against the mechanics of the game in a really poor way. That sucks. So yeah, but yeah, A tier. Despite that, if they fix some of those issues, it could have been up here maybe. And it even has a pretty interesting plot. I wouldn't say the story is like that great. Like it's the voice acting is cheesy and the game's pretty short, but like the general plot of the game is fairly interesting in my opinion. So yeah, that's where it goes. The Force Unleashed games. I think nobody would argue that Force Unleashed 1 is better, and that would probably go up here somewhere. Probably probably above Castlevania. I don't know if I would put it quite up here. There's probably only going to be like one game up here, honestly. Uh, um, maybe, yeah. I love this game though. This is a true power fantasy. This also has one of my favorite like Star Wars stories of any of the games. It's probably my second favorite Star Wars game, honestly. Um, and then the DLC for it, when you have the Dark Side edition of the game, it gives you three whole new missions. and a bunch of other crap. And the game's just fun. It's a great game. I love it. I don't really know what else to say. I'm sure most people, if you're watching this, you've probably touched the Force Unleashed. It hasn't like it's not super snappy in its gameplay, but it's still fun enough to like really enjoy, that good old hack and slash, blow people away with the force, shoot them with lightning, throw your lightsaber, force repulse, all kinds of shit you could do. It's fun. Um, so let's move on to the two. We're gonna put two C tier. Some people probably would want me to put it down here. I don't think it's bad. I don't think the second one is a bad game. I think it's fine, but it's clearly a rushed game. Um, it's it's even shorter. It's much shorter than the first game. I think the first game is like 10 to 12 hours maybe. This game is probably like 5 or 6 hours. Like it is super short. Um, it does still have two endings, so that's cool. It gives you a couple extra abilities. You have the ability to like change your lightsaber colors. Like you could change one to like green and the other to blue, or one to red and the other to yellow. You could do that. That's kind of cool. You have different outfits. But generally, I don't think its gameplay overall wasn't that much better than the first ones, if even better than at all. Honestly, its boss fights were a step down. They're just these giant like bosses that you fight, which is like not necessarily a bad thing, but I prefer the cool like faster enemies in the first game that are more Jedi's that you fight. Um, I think they were more interesting than like fighting a giant ass Rancor or whatever. I mean, that was a cool spectacle, but you know, I prefer the first game's bosses and enemy design overall. So yeah, C tier. I think C tier is fair. Okay, now we're getting into Devil May Cry, one of my favorite video game series ever. But we're gonna start at one. Oof, actually, God, where do I put one? Actually, I don't want to get crucified because one, see, Devil May Cry one, in my opinion, has aged in a lot of ways, and I remember watching a video of somebody saying, "This game isn't aged. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. This game isn't aged at all. This game has aged quite a bit. I'm sorry to tell you, this game is milk in some ways, which is a shame because I do think the general combat against normal enemies is fun, but this game reuses bosses multiple times, like many times. Like I think almost every boss in this game gets reused at least once, except maybe like the final boss. Like I don't want to fight the spider guy again. I don't want to fight the stupid floor thing. What is it, Nightmare? I don't want to fight that fucking asshole again. That's annoying as shit. That's the most annoying fucking boss ever. He sucks ass, you know. But when you're just fighting normal enemies, it's fun, and the game has a great atmosphere, and it generally feels still pretty good to play, you know, in a general sense. But like a lot of its bosses just kind of suck, in my opinion. The only one I really like is Nilo Angelo, and that's it. I don't like any of the other bosses in the game. So, with that being said, put it in C tier. We'll put it at the top of C tier. Um, it's a good game. It is a good game. I like Devil May Cry 1, but yeah, it has certain things holding it back. I think if maybe they remastered it or remade it, they could really make it into something special. But they probably won't. They'll leave it as is, and that's fine. It's still a fun game. DMC 2. I mean, do I even need to explain why Devil May Cry 2 isn't fucking dismal? Honestly, I should probably make a fucking new tier that drops it even lower, but I was trying to do the whole Devil May Cry 5 the ranking system on here. So I'm going to keep it, but DMC2 is the worst video game that I have ever completed. It is that fucking bad. It is so terrible. I only beat this game because I wanted to beat every Devil May Cry game because I'm a huge Devil May Cry fan. I played 3, 4, even the reboot and 5 before this game. And oh man, I think this was the last one I beat. because I had to go back to one and two and beat them both. Because I kind of like, I didn't necessarily skip them, but it was like I really liked three, so I played three, and then I played four, and I played the reboot, and I played five, and I liked all four of those, and I was like, oh, let me play the first two. I want to play them, and I played through both of them, and two is so terrible. Every boss in this game is a fucking piece of shit. None of them are fun to fight. They're all trash. The game feels like trash to play. The dodge sucks. The pistols are overpowered. Your sword swings are clunky and shitty. Um, the story is damn near non-existent. It's terrible. It's boring. Dante is a fucking wet mop of a character in that game. I don't know what they were doing. And the game's just unfinished. You know, it's a terrible game. Hmm. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's a fucking awful video game. So yeah, let's move on to Devil May Cry 3. Oof. Do I put this up here? Yeah, we'll put DMC3 up there. I don't know if I really have to explain this one too much either. Devil May Cry 3 is a fantastic game. I think it's a borderline masterpiece. Um, I think the only thing holding it back is some of the enemies in the game that you have to fight. There's a few enemies that are just really annoying. I think the chess piece enemies are annoying. I think the stupid blood enemies where you have to shoot them first and then attack them are annoying. I think the enemies that you have to look away from, that it's just one enemy, but it's a certain enemy that you have to look away for them to even be able to be damaged. That's annoying. Other than those, though, most of the enemies are pretty fun to fight. There's a lot of cool environmental things you could interact with that are cool. And overall, it's a great game. So, great music. It's got the best story of all the Devil May Cry games. Not that that really says much, but it does. It has a better story than all the other games by far, in my opinion. So, yeah, DMC4. I think DMC4 is an easy apocalyptic. I think most people who've played it know the problems with the game and also know that despite those problems, it's still a great game. This game was also kind of unfinished. It only has like half the levels that it really should have. Um, where you have to like backtrack as Dante through the levels that you already played with as Nero, shit like that. And then because of this, they also rehashed villains or bosses. So like Dante didn't get any of his own unique bosses except for the giant priest statue thingy. I forgot what it's called. That's like his only boss, and it kind of sucks. It's more just like a platforming challenge. Um, so yeah, and it arguably has like some of the best combat in the series. I will say though, it does feel like the enemies feel more designed for Dante than they do for Nero. I mean, they other way around. They feel like they're more designed for Nero than they are for Dante. Nero, they all have like Nero has a unique rap for everybody and everything. Regardless, fantastic game. I don't think I really have to explain. Also, the story just felt unfinished. So yeah, DMC Devil May Cry. I think I'm gonna put that in B tier. And that is going to be a very controversial opinion because a lot of people are going to be like, "What? You put that above the first two games?" And you know what? I'm just going to own it. Yeah, I think it's a better game than both of these. I think DMC Devil May Cry is a better game than DMC 1 and 2. I do. I think it's a great game. Yeah, sure, the story's kind of stupid. Yeah, I agree. The story's a little dumb. But I find it entertaining enough to get through it. And then I think the combat is a lot of fun. I think the combat's a lot more fun than it is in Devil May Cry 1 and 2. The boss fights aren't perfect, but they're entertaining enough. They're fun. And it's just a generally good game. I think it's a good like 7 to 8 out of 10 video game, especially the special edition on consoles. Like the PS4, Xbox One versions of it, where it adds like outfits and stuff. It's a great game. It's a really good game. I think this is a good game. In fact, I would put it maybe right below Bayonetta 1. So yeah, that's my placement. There you go. I apologize for my horrible opinions. All right, DMC5. I don't think I really have to explain this one either. Devil May Cry 5. I think it's the best Devil May Cry game by a good margin. I think my only complaint is I wish there was an ability, there was a mode for me to be able to play through all the missions as like any character I want, rather than just playing through the campaign and being forced to play as Nero or Dante or V in certain sections. Why not give me the Virgil treatment? Because Virgil gets this. He gets his own DLC where he gets to play through the whole game as just as Virgil. Why can't I do that as Dante? That's my boy. Why can't I do that as Nero? Why can't I do that as V? I probably wouldn't do it as V, but I should have the ability to, you know? So, that's my one complaint with the game. Oh, and I wish there were more outfits. This game should have had like a bunch more outfits. I don't even think there are any outfits they added. I think they just added an alternate color for everyone. Huge missed opportunity there. I have no idea why they never added any cosmetics outside of just like having an alternate color. But other than that, it has some of the best music in the franchise. It has the best gameplay, in my opinion, in the franchise. It has great enemy variety. It's got good level design. It's got the second best story in the franchise. It blows the rest of them out of the water, except for three. And it's just fun. It's just a really fun game. It's super complex. It is arguably the most complex. I know some people will say four is more complex. I don't know. I never got to that high skill ceiling. But DMC 5, I mean Dante has so many fucking moves. It's insane. It is actually insane. Bro could just straight up like Kamehameha his enemies. It's crazy. I love it. This is, in my opinion, the greatest stylish character action game ever made. I love it. But yeah, that's gonna be it. If you like the video, you can like it. If you dislike it because I'm a terrible list, maybe I'll make an updated list in the future if I decide to try to beat more games. Maybe I'll play through the God of Wars. Maybe I'll force myself, and maybe I'll love them. I will be beating Darksiders 2 eventually, and I imagine it'd probably be like either B or A tier because I don't know. I feel like most people agree Darksiders 2 is just better. But yeah, that's gonna do it. If you like the video, you could smash my booty. And if you dislike the video, you could smash my booty with a hammer.